adding both payment methods. So, I mean, I'm not going to show her private information because we're live now, but I would go in and add both payment methods. And then where it says 30, it says their payment method failed, then click pay because there's a pay button. I don't know if you saw that. And that pay will go to a checkout page. And on the checkout page, you select the payment method.
But it does make a certain payment method default.
So then select the other one.
Right, but what about next month?
That it picks a default. Well, what do you think the word default means? And time out. We've got two viewers real quick. And we're at the Spark office hours, and we have no problem whenever we meet solving problems for clients. So today it's office hours, and we will be talking, I think, either about the book Tribes, which we're reading together with Seth Godin, and hopefully I think everyone read that. And then secondarily, we're going to be meeting at the end of the quarter. Yay! And so one of the topics we'll be talking about is community-based marketing. And we want to talk a little bit about that because we're working out our thoughts on this, but the landscape of marketing is changing. And girls, I was able to talk to Nicole a little bit about this. And Nicole is a influence marketer. She manages influencers for small businesses and gets their micro-influencer campaign set up. And I was talking to her a little bit about this. But real quick, when you add payment methods to, and if you're a client, this is specific to the website company thing. When you add multiple payments, Jessica, and you check out and you select that payment, it might even ask if you want to set this as default. But if the account itself has a default, that doesn't mean next month it's going to go back to that card. When you assign a payment method to that particular subscription, that will be the credit card attached to it. Give that a try.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, girls. So we read Seth Godin's Tribes. Where did my copy go? Where's my copy? It was right here.
He didn't read it.
I did read it.
He's deflecting.
I'm not deflecting. I'm not deflecting. I read it first. It must be in the other room.
Yeah, well, that's not fair. Of course you read it first. You're the one that recommended it.
So takeaways.
I highlighted and wrote in mine. So
what section did you highlight? Share.
I highlighted you can't have a tribe without a leader, and you can't be a leader without a tribe.
Ooh. How many people think they're leaders and they have no tribe? Yikes.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I don't feel that.
I'm not feeling that. Like, how many people I've got, maybe they mean they have like leadership traits.
Yeah.
But they don't have a following. Why do you think people who might be gifted with leadership lose their following?
Messaging, maybe? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah,
now,
just not being clear on what their message is and not knowing how to message themselves.
Or maybe they've been messaging something long enough and haven't been delivering. Or whatever like if you're leading, that means you're going somewhere, or you're promising to go some direction, and people are just sick of it. I know I've lost followers at times in seasons because we're going this direction, and people just get tired of the journey. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Who have been solid leaders in your past? Either of you. Why are you smirking, Jessica?
That's a good question.
Why are you smirking, Jessica?
I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite. So I can think of one when I used to work in Colorado at this resort. It was a 5-star resort, so there were like very high standards for everyone that worked there. And the owner was like always there, and he just was constantly like challenging everyone to be better. And because, a lot of people don't come into a job like that knowing what 5-star is, lay the plate on the left and, fill the drink from the right. At least that was me in the dining room. But yeah, just going the extra mile. If someone forgets their umbrella in the dining room, like you take it to them. You don't just like, they'll get it tomorrow. Just like little things like that to kind of make somebody's day or just go above and beyond. So he was always a great example of that. And he was really good at like conflict resolution between either guests and staff or staff and staff.
Okay.
He was just always very like kind of level headed. Like he was just, I don't know. It was someone that I looked up to. Like some of us just, we kind of react, and he always seemed to like take a pause and like really collect his ideas. So
That's
Tristan's
a hard thing to do.
It is a tough thing to do. Tristan's asking, in that resort space, do you have more memories from the positive sense or negative interactions that started with you?
I think I have more positive. I loved living in Colorado as a Florida girl. I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
But I also really loved my job. I was the dining room manager, and so I spent a lot of time with the guests, just trying to make their experience the best possible. And we had note cards on everybody of like how they took their coffee each morning, and what wines they liked, and what they were allergic to, and how they liked their eggs cooked. So if they were
Even if they were there for a night?
yeah, so we would keep that record for each person. And so if they came back, like we would already have that ready. So we had families that would come every year, and we'd get their card out, and I wouldn't have to ask them how they like their coffee
What
or
was
how
this
they want.
resort?
It was
cool.
called Tall Timber Resort, and it's between
What?
Durango and Silverton. But now it's called, I think, Soaring Treetop Adventures. And what they did is they built all these awesome platforms like up in the trees. And this was like before zip lining was everywhere. And
Yeah.
so you take like these awesome zip lines, they're really long treks, like through the aspen trees and over the river. And we would set up a whole
Wait.
like breakfast or like a whole like box lunch for everybody.
So it's not a 5-star resort anymore?
No, so the 5-star resort was like the dream and passion of this couple, Denny and Judy Begro, but they had a son, and I think the son didn't really want to carry on the 5-star legacy of like hospitality. So they
Wow.
started putting all these platforms, and he was like, this guy would go backpacking like here and there, in different countries. And so I think like they were transitioning into his passion because he was taking on the property. And I don't even know if you can stay there at the resort anymore. They had, I think it was
That's
only like
disappointing.
20 rooms. Yeah, because I want to go back. I want to take my family, but you can take a train and it goes right through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I that makes me think of the book E-Myth. And in E-Myth, the gentleman describes, like, first off, the title E-Myth means that the myth is that only certain people are entrepreneurs. And everyone in their heart, if they're seeking freedom, technically has an entrepreneur heart. I could do this better. I want to try to do something like this. And you are in a testament. You went to a resort and had this extraordinary experience from behind the scenes. He told this anecdote. He said the first time he happened upon this particular hotel, the author of E-Myth, he had a speaking gig, and his previous hotel canceled last minute because they were full, and he had to find a place. And so he was traipsing all over, finally stumbled into what looked like, a cottage, cute resort. And it was resort. It wasn't just a small motel. It was a nice place. But it was the only thing available. So he walks in. It was like 11 at night, and it's raining outside. And he's chit-chatting with, the desk clerk. And they're talking. He's checking in. Where are you from? I'm from, I'll say Buffalo, New York, or whatever it is. And they're talking, and he doesn't think anything of the encounter. He's just exhausted. He goes to bed, crashes. He wakes up, and he finds that the bathrobes are on these warmers. And so like these so he took a shower, comes out, and realizes, oh, these bathrobes, they hang on these warmers. Well, that's fun. That's kitsch. And he finds these series of things that are thoughtful. And he's like, this is wild, like this is kind of cool, whatever. And I am paying a premium, but I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was last minute. He hears a tap at his door at about 7 or 8. And it's like, well, what the heck? So, a few moments later, he opens the door. There's nobody there, but there's the Buffalo Times at his door. His newspaper, his local, and I don't know how
That's
they
wild.
obtained it. He got in at 11 p.m. The desk clerk is programmed to chit-chat. And in the chit-chat, they're programmed to hear for your hometown, and they get the newspaper, put it there. And he said, of course, I booked this hotel every time I was in the area for the rest of my life, you know?
Yeah.
And it's, and, you know, Bailey, who is, I first met her as a server. She's a server at 1961, but we've become buddies. She's an entrepreneur. She's a hustler. Her husband, Carl, has his own like online brand called Potdega, and they do a bunch of boutique stuff. She herself is like an event stylist and does like balloon archways and gorgeous stuff. And she was at today's event at Catapult where we were talking to these other entrepreneurs. But we met for lunch last week just to touch base and hear about her company and what was going on. And she recommended a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. And the premise of the book is people, it doesn't always have to be high end, but people want a curated experience. Even if it's low end, they still want that experience to be curated.
Yeah.
And they're looking for experiences. And so I have it on my book list to read, Unreasonable Hospitality, and that's what you make me think of with
That's
this
awesome.
leader who had a vision for that. And I wonder, maybe Soaring Tree has that same touch, but just for zip lines. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
So
they probably
interesting.
do.
Amber, a leadership story from yourself in the past.
Mandy at Black and Brew. I mean, I think I would be remiss if I didn't say Mandy. Yeah, she just always had a way of making things lighter for everyone.
Sure.
When she would come around. Like, you just couldn't help but laugh when she would come around. Either she's meowing along with music or telling you some weird conspiracy theory.
Which is
but she-
Mandy's defining feature.
Yes.
Not her hair, not her frame.
No.
Conspiracy story.
Conspiracy theories. But she
Yeah.
keeps it interesting and just like she's very real and very easy to level with and just talk to when there are issues. And I think being able to talk transparently employer to employee in both ways, I think that's just one of the most important things. And it's what kept me in my position there for so long because I loved the people I was working for. And that really made a difference, is just knowing, like, if I get frustrated, I can go talk to Mandy and she's going to be like, I get it. And, you know, then she's going to tell me some weird anecdote to make me laugh. And then I'm going to go back and be fine. And thinking about like the exceptional service, like our regulars at Black and Brew, I mean, that was my favorite part, other than working with so many other great people, was just getting to work with our regulars. And people really appreciate something as silly as you writing a note on their coffee cup, or you remembering that their Americano has honey in it, or, you know, just anything small like that. It just shows that you're paying attention. And I think people just appreciate that extra level of love.
Extra level of love. Yeah, 100%. A leadership, I've had a lot of actually really good leaders, but nearly all of them, and maybe this is the difference between feminine touch and masculine touch, nearly every single one of them that I have an anecdote for challenged me. And in particular was Alicia Totten. Alicia Totten is a local here in Lakeland. She worked as a district manager at Starbucks for a while, and she is a powerhouse. I see her around now and again, and when we see each other, we hug, because I worked as a manager at Starbucks. And the thing about this was, at Starbucks, I was phenomenal. I didn't have to do anything other than hospitality, and I loved that. And I was very chummy, and memorizing drinks and making people laugh in line, and, you know, all this sort of stuff. And I remember our records were beating the drive-through stores. We had a little cafe store, and our numbers were destroying the drive-through numbers. And I was really bold about that. I was like, oh yeah, just shy of arrogant, right? Like, very like confident in myself. And
I mean, that's impressive.
Oh yeah, we were murdering it. Like, I mean, we did phenomenal, and it was very much cheers. We had this long bar, and we had super regulars that would sit there for 8 hours a day because they were some of the OG remote workers. And, you know, we would chat and know their drinks, and then people would come through to just sit and buy a small coffee. And we built good relationships with those folks. She challenged me though once. She said, you got really good numbers. I said, yeah. She said, do you think you could teach anyone else on your team to do that? I said, honestly, Alicia, it's just got to be, charisma. It's like kind of how I operate. How I was wired. She said, you don't know how to do a thing, and you're not actually that thing until you know it well enough to teach it. And I was just like, she just did not give me that credit. But that was, and it was said caringly, caring in a caring way. And it hit me right that I can deliver, but it's not leadership. That just makes me the best player in the field. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make me the coach.
Yeah.
And I was like, man. And honestly, since that time, I've been on a journey like, how do I replicate this thing? And you girls know we talk about this daily, like word tracks. And, Greg can handle that call. And it's like, I still have not lived up to Alicia's bar and actually being able to imbue in others consistently this thing I do with people.
I think what you do is unique, though. I don't know that what you do can entirely be replicated. I think a lot of it really does come down to experience and confidence, but also just you just have this something special about you that like you want to talk to people. Like we'll go to the Joinery for lunch and we're ordering burgers and Grant's talking to the checkout person about their dreams. What's your dream? And they're always totally caught off guard. Like, what do you want in your burger? What do you mean?
Finish ordering, please.
Yes. But it happens almost every time. And I love to watch people react to you, but they're always just so genuinely like happy that somebody cared enough to ask.
Yeah, man.
So I think you don't give yourself enough credit. I think you're living up to Alicia's standards in a lot of ways.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm doing my own thing more and more, and I do that well, and I appreciate those words. But I really like the challenge of when I start seeing you do that, when I start seeing Jessica do that by default, without having to ask permission, without having to get more detail, just to put it out there and go, hey, let's just have this dialogue. And then be able to operate real time in solving problems. Yeah. So those are 3 leadership stories. So what else from that section of tribes? You got your book in front of you, Jessica. She's like, oh God.
I got everything.
That's why you highlight.
Actually, my book's over there.
Takeaways.
So I liked that it said tribes need leadership and that people want connection and growth and something new and change. And I definitely feel that, especially whenever I start like a new job somewhere. I don't want to sound like I do that often, but I'm always like very excited about the new. And I get really excited when I know that like things are going to consistently change and get better, because that just means that like I'm going to constantly have something to learn and I'm going to be growing. So I liked that part of it.
I thought it was interesting when they were saying that people are in search of a movement. Like some tribes are stuck.
People are in search of a movement. Some tribes are stuck.
A movement is thrilling. It's the work of many people, all connected, all seeking something better.
Yes.
So it's, Jessica, I feel like I would totally relate to what you just said. Like a movement is thrilling. So like you starting a new job, like that is you searching out a movement, essentially.
And specifically, it was searching out something better, a movement, but something about the together component. What's the exact quote?
It's the work of many people, all connected, all seeking something better.
That. Please asterisk that, because I will look for that later, because that to me is a missing component of our teaching at the end of the quarter on community marketing. Someone was asking me, how is community marketing not just local? Not just rubbing shoulders, not just going to networking groups. And I think that's it. I think in a lot of ways, Spark Sites has gotten stagnant. We used to, in terms of the community, the movement losing momentum.
Yeah.
We had in the early days, before you girls were even around, a very vibrant Facebook group, a very vibrant lives and webinars. We had book studies, IRL book studies, where people would come to our house on South Avenue on Sundays, and we would do book study together. And sometimes there was 15 people there. I mean, Excalibur folks came. Debbie Huffstedler from Lucky Puppy Pedicures. Gina Bullock from The Pet Nanny. Robert Boudreau, who was a network marketer and a leader of his own right. We would be doing 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And we were seeking to do this, just to be with one another, but B, to do business better. And to enrich ourselves individually and our community better. And then we stopped the book study. It was a lot, and we kind of wanted our Sundays back, and we didn't really know how to move that around. And then it felt too local. Someone could easily say, "You're just doing the local thing," but I think the connected part, like how many of, like Jessica you talk to a lot of our clients in a given day. You probably talk to 10 different clients in a given day. How many of them have asked about any of the others?
Any other clients?
Correct. They don't ever. Never. We're having a transactional phone call.
Yeah.
They don't even know who our other clients are. How many of them even know that we did the Lakelander magazine, really? We promoted
Well, and they
it
don't
once.
even think to ask.
Because, and I would think about that, because you're right, because they're thinking about their business. They're thinking about why Jessica called.
Yeah.
Is she asking for a credit card? Is she giving me an update on this project? But like the 2 seconds it takes to be like, I was just talking to our other client, Maxine Granston, and they're doing this phenomenal event. I wonder if the two of you would get along. Do you mind if I do an intro email?
Yeah, I like that.
I know. It's my dream to like put our clients together. Like we have so many that should be in the same room together. I don't know why, but I always want to put Ryan Christ and Julie Murata together.
We need to you know what?
They're both amazing.
let's bookmark. And folks, for those watching, Tristan's probably the one watching right now. There's a phrase from crypto we call BITO, build in the open. Let's do this. Instead of making any highfalutin thing, let's invite them to lunch, and let's all 5 of us go to lunch.
Yeah. Be great.
I mean, we do Spark team lunches. We skipped ours today at the Joinery, but why don't we just all go to lunch, just with them, just as friends?
Yeah.
And just matchmake.
I just want to see them like get excited about what they do because they're both phenomenal and they're both so different. I mean, so I think that would be so cool. And we were talking to our intern, Megan, about her wanting to maybe get into influencer marketing. Like that would be a great thing for her to do, and connecting her with Nicole Bradham at Hot Mod Agency.
Yeah.
Yes. There's just so many people that we know that would benefit from knowing each other.
Yes.
I love that.
And the stuff we're talking about is IRL because we have some of that luxury because 80% of our clients or more are all local. But even from a remote perspective, finding ways to be connectors. Tristan says also not being able to help everyone the same way is huge. Tristan, what do you mean by that? Do you girls have an interpretation of what he might mean by that? Tristan, give us some insight on how you mean this, because I'd love to riff on that a little bit. Now, real quick, we did get another comment. I want to speak to it. Facebook user, if you're floating around, I'd love to hear who Facebook user is. Hey, game, first-time caller, long-time listener. What do you think about Google PMax, which is the Performance Max system? Is it here to stay or not? Thanks. I'll hang up and listen.
I like
Radio
that.
show time.
That's awesome.
Facebook user, for some reason, you can see your name didn't come through here. I apologize. But we don't know a lot about Google Performance Max, in all honesty. Our team has avoided paid ads proactively, intentionally, primarily because a lot of people like us in our industry are selling hot air. They don't actually know how to get maximum performance out of paid ads. And by proxy, we don't either, and we don't want to pretend. We've experimented with a lot. We have not experimented with the Performance Max enough to be able to speak to this intelligently. Here's Tristan's clarity. You realized not living into the standard Alicia set for you. You can't live up to the same standard for everyone, as it's subjective, and the ability to relate. Yes, Tristan, 100%. I personally think that the challenge Alicia set to me in my anecdote of leadership was an appropriate challenge for me, because I get better and better and better at this magic thing Amber just said. Today, I mean, someone handed me the mic at a Catapult networking meeting, and 150 people in the room, I have zero hesitation to entertain and to pull people into the conversation. But my ability to empower, both of these girls, you can tell, are friendly and fine with people. But to take that to the next level where they connect people in the room with just words or expression at that next level, my ability to imbue others is a standard that I set for me. Oh, it's Ryan Edrington. This guy is a top-notch entrepreneur. If I had a merit badge for entrepreneurs, it's Ryan. Ryan's been, yes, here you go, Ryan. Send it to you in the mail. And his companies are big enough. He has been grinding. So Ryan, honestly, transparently, we do not know Google and we don't know paid ads well enough. We do Google search. We know Google organic ads. We know how to get ranked on Google. But the actual ad management service called Google Performance Max, I'm uninformed. But I'll tell you what, girls, someone make a note. We'll get an answer for you. Even if it's just someone's humble opinion, whether it's Chris Ann, because you're on this show, maybe you talk to Chris Ann about paid ads, maybe not. Chris Ann Long, for you girls who might not know, is one of the co-owners of Maximize Digital Media. They might know. Jennifer Denny was our ads gal with Humarian. She was another vendor for our client Humarian. We'll get an answer in an effort to continue to connect clients with resources. I love that. So Ryan, forgive us for not having the anscer, but we will get you an answer. And question
That's what we do. That's what we do. We don't have the answer, but we'll find it. And
Ryan, I'd be super curious, like, have you been using it long and are you happy with its performance? And if so, then that's a good feedback loop for us because we're uninformed. You are the expert in the room on that one. Any parting thoughts from tribes? Now, we're talking about tribes. What do you think, Seth Godin, just in the first few pages here, what is he getting at a tribe versus just a client base?
Connection.
I think so.
I think connection is, yeah. And I think that's really, if you're going to be a tribe, the connection is really what matters to people.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the important stuff.
So I want to bring this back up on the screen, if I may, from our last office hours, because I think it's relevant to this point. This was the new leadership model of small business that we talked about. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to hide Ryan's comment here. Here we go. So this is the traditional concept of leadership. We talked about this. This is the old model, and it's not necessarily broken. It's just old and gathering dust. But we kind of got to this new model here. And this, to me, is kind of representing a more tribal model, where they're not just connected to the leader, they're connected to each other. Oh, where am I at? They're not just connected to the leader, they're connected to each other, and everyone is driven by and motivated by the cause. And this is like fine on paper. This is, that's a great hypothesis.
Right.
But what I think we're getting at with the book Tribes is, what's that actual action? How do we connect, in our case, client to client? Mm-hmm. We used to have this thing, Jessica, I don't know if you had this in church. When we were in church, they used to say, if someone has not made 7 independent, standalone connections in the church, it was only a matter of time before they left. It's a web of relationships, individual, standalone relationships. Most church congregations are set up like this. You got the pastor and you've got the parishioners, and though they rub shoulders, there's typically not deep intrinsic relationships across the board. And the churches that do stand out to you, for anyone watching who goes, well, my church isn't like that. How long have you been at the church? Oh, I've been here 25 years, or Grace City Church, or whatever church is thriving, it's probably because they have these dynamics going on until they don't, and it devolves. Very good. Okay. Thoughts about any of that? Thoughts, feelings, emotions? Before we move on and talk maybe more about community marketing.
I dig it. I liked the first 5 pages. I was going to keep reading, but we said we would just read 5 pages. So
You're welcome to read ahead.
it's 5 pages. This is much easier to read than the last book.
Yes, the last book being for the public. What was it?
Clockwork.
Yeah. If you don't remember, there's probably a problem. And, as far as like small business books go, Clockwork is
Amazing.
relatively easy to read, but Seth Godin is an artist.
Yeah,
He's a writer.
this is holding my attention more. It's because I like to read fiction and need to be entertained. So
And he tells like an anecdote almost in every section.
he does, and
Yeah.
I like that. And they're not long. I think that's part of the thing in Clockwork that bugged me is like there's too many long stories and they take too long, and then I forget what point we're even trying to make.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man.
I like the briefness of it, I guess.
The brevity.
Brevity.
The brevity.
Briefness.
Yeah, man.
Fine.
All right. Any other questions? Jessica, did you have any questions? Amber, did you have any questions about anything you read that you stood out and you're like, I don't understand this, or I don't like this, or I don't get this?
Not yet, but let's read the next 5 pages
All
and
right.
see.
All right.
Yeah, I don't have any questions, just points that I liked.
Give us one of your other bullets there, Jessica. You write notes. Give us another bullet.
I'm a note taker. So I just liked this part in the section where it was talking about in search of a movement, a group of people waiting to be energized and transformed.
Transformation. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you think about it, we're our own people. We have our own lives. We do our own thing, but it's really exciting to come together with a group and be energized and move towards a cause. And I was thinking maybe that's why some leaders fail, because they lose their gumption, right? Like I mean, you could be taking too long to get to where we're trying to get, but at the same time, if they like lose their steam and then everyone's like, are we still doing this? Like,
yes. Yes. And you can feel when someone regains steam. Like the inverse is true. But when you've lost steam, you all right there, Amber?
I just knocked a bunch of stuff over.
Oh, and she's out. You're right, because when you've lost steam, you feel like it is lost permanently, but it doesn't have to be. But it does require you to reconnect with a deep-seated vision, and if otherwise you'll get bored. And so there's a term in economics for this called creative destruction. Have you heard of this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jessica, do you have any knowns for it? Do you know it well enough to explain it?
No,
Okay. No, that's okay. No, that's fine.
but I have heard of it. Go ahead.
So creative destruction simply says this: if you do not disrupt yourself, the market will. And so you look at your business, your model, and you ask yourself, what can be torn down in order to build something up, which is what we're looking into.
Yeah.
When it comes to us talking, hint, 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 here's some alpha if anyone watches this later, our evolution to a training community. Not a training company. I had to catch myself. I talked to somebody else at Catapult and I said training company. And they're like, oh, you're going to do courses and teach. And I'm like, wait, dang it. No, training community.
I know. We need to say it like 5 times a day.
Yeah. And part of that movement is how can we reconnect with people in a way that we need to grow too?
Jessica's writing it on her whiteboard.
And for those who don't know, that's Jessica's power whiteboard array.
That's her
I
superpower.
have hearts now.
You got
Oh,
hearts
she's
in
got
there.
magnets up
I
there.
don't know.
Yeah, man, full of love. So real quick, one of the teachings we're going to be looking at, and Nicole said she's down. Let's follow up with her and get her booked. And she said this. She said, I'll do it for free if you have someone capture the media.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's good. So this right here is a concept I'm working on, ladies, and you can give me your feedback. This is like slide 3 of a group of slides, and the title is The Market is Changing. I'll get into some of these slides at some other point. And this is a point that I think we've made before, but I want your feedback on it. Long story short, the audience has had analysis paralysis right here. So basically before 1998, give or take, do you either of you, were you born online or do you remember a time pre-online?
I remember pre.
Amber, do you remember pre? Oh my
I
God.
mean, yeah, well, because my parents were a little behind on the technology, just so I think we
Yeah.
were just behind in general. So yes, but not for very long.
In West Virginia,
It was
we
Virginia.
Virginia, get it right. Yeah, okay. So the teaching is this, or this slide's concept is simply this. Before 1998, people were logging on in 1990, 1994, but it was not really usable until about 1997, 1998. And even then, you didn't have a search function. There was no Google search. Even in 98, everything was lists. So you might have a Yahoo list page, or you might have an not even Ask Jeeves yet. Not in full scale use. You might have GeoCities. You might know to check out MySpace, but there was very little crawlers or search. So this graphic simply is implying this. If you wanted knowledge or an idea, like for me, I was looking for investment ideas to start investing. If you want that, you would have to go high and low and I subscribe to the New York Times, Investor Business Daily, my local newspaper, and I would read it front to back, and I would have to synthesize this information, and then hopefully I would then synthesize and generate an investment idea. Multiple newspapers. And then I believe we've entered the omniscience age where the internet is just a deluge of information, but we don't know what to pay attention to. So we thought having all this knowledge would give us ideas. But the truth is it's causing a paralysis of thought. I don't think it's making us stupider. I think we're overwhelmed at the quantity of thought. And I don't think we've adjusted to this apparatus yet. This addition, like this cyborg added element to who we are. I don't think we've adapted to it yet. And so I'm calling it about 2020. Why 2020? Well, because around 2020, it became legitimate. Most everyone stayed home from the pandemic. There was a level of information consumption where doom scrolling and feed crawling, we were looking for any answers that COVID was over. We were looking for what was going on with the elections. We were looking for what was going on with war. And we started, and then like that was too much and overwhelming. So then we were like looking up a menu on DoorDash. And then we were watching every single show on Netflix because as a society, we were on this glut of information.
Yeah.
So about 2020, this starts changing where we had to create filters. Decision-making filters, physical filters. I'm turning off my notifications. And then we started adjusting to going, well, what is my corner of the internet? And so this is what I call the omniscience age. And what people are looking for is asking themselves a question. How do I limit my inputs?
Literally.
What's so funny?
I'm just constantly like, how can I stop these ads? Like, how can I change my algorithm? Like, I'm getting so many emails. Like you said,
The emails are crazy.
Put up a filter. Like, how can I cut some of this out? So, yeah, that's why I laughed.
No, that's exactly true, right? And so, like, have you answered that, or are you just trying to like not like things and like other things? Like, well, how are you adjusting to too much information?
Yeah, just taking the time to unsubscribe to things that somehow I got subscribed to, or, like unfollowing. I spent a whole day one time because I thought that like it was on Instagram. I thought you really like needed to look like you followed a bunch of people. So like anytime someone wanted to follow me, I'm like, oh, I'll follow you back. And I had like 4,000 followers, and it took me like days of just like sitting there and unfollowing. And Instagram will only let you unfollow so many people per day. So like I had to wait till tomorrow and then unfollow more, but I finally got it down to like, 2 digits, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Really? Really? So, I mean, that's huge. Amber, what have you been doing, whether it's email or social or Netflix? Like, how is your family filtering information?
More specific times for when we utilize technology and when we don't. And just putting parameters on that, because my kids are screen zombies, man. They'll go on their iPad and stay there. I'm like, no, there's got to be time limits. But for myself, I really just started being more strict about what's on my phone. And I got rid of a lot of things that I didn't need to look at. Like I wouldn't have Facebook if it wasn't for work. Like I only keep it because we use it for work.
Really?
I wouldn't use it otherwise. I don't really interact with it that much anymore. I used to, But now I'm just like on Instagram watching dog videos or gardening videos.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
the same as like what Jessica said, just filtering what I'm looking at, getting rid of the stuff that's like, I don't need to see any of that. Like I just
Yeah.
follow the stuff that I want to see. And yeah, just being really strict about, like, especially for my kids, like how much time they spend and what they spend time doing when they're
Interesting.
using it. Like James will just spend hours on like Minecraft. So I'm like, okay, I get that. I get escaping into that, but
Yeah.
you know,
That's interesting. And I think we're adjusting to, like, for example, you mentioned hours. I would be fine spending hours building community. I would spend hours on probably two things: crypto Twitter and small business Twitter, because it's on topic. But as soon as I start to see, Instagram's not a good use for me right now. As a male, it's just naked all the time, right? And so, like, I don't even think I could proactively filter out all of the stuff that I don't need to be seeing, right?
yeah,
Like, but I will say Instagram's great for me for like fitness Instagram. And if I
yeah,
can get into my fitness feeds, or Marissa knows this, like my surf feeds, like as I'm watching, inspirational surf videos and about that life, almost as a dream board, I could spend hours on that so long as it
yeah,
was, after hours, my brain was truly fried. My point in saying that, though, is I think the filters people are developing we're looking for nuance. And then the point of community marketing is this. That's an element. You've heard signal versus noise. I've got a little graphic on that. But the signal versus noise is, how do you pick out from the noise? And I'll spend time with this when we do our thing live. But this right here is the best way to say this is the ultimate signal of what to pay attention to is my tribe.
yeah,
Because with all the AI and with all the social media, we start asking ourselves, okay, how much of this is real? But
Yeah.
I don't even think that's the ultimate question with AI. I think AI is triggering something that we've already been asking about. Say, for example, Instagram influencers. And Jessica, you're a gardener. I'm sure you follow a bunch of gardeners, and maybe on Instagram you see a bunch of gardener tips. But even in that, you start to get to the point where you're like, there's no way this person on a single income family has that backyard garden.
yeah,
They have some other resource, or now they have sponsors, and you're starting to
Right.
filter. Some of this is just like fluff. I've heard that same 5 tips to getting rid of aphids 100 times. And so you're starting to filter out. And
Lay
so
down.
what'd you say?
So I was like aphids, like I was supposed to start writing stuff down, but yeah.
But the point is that we're starting to look not only for the influencers, we're even filtering that out, filtering the AI out, and we're going, who is more like me?
yeah. And I think it's interesting too, seeing like Instagram is still very curated, but I love how TikTok shows a messier side of things. It's more
Yes.
realistic, and I think people really are connecting to that because they feel like they're understood.
Yes.
Somebody else on the internet is feeling how they feel. So
Yeah.
I think there's just something to be said for that. Yeah.
So you can see with these slides, what I'm building is the case is not only what are some of these, pragmatic mechanisms of filtering information, but I think my contention is we will start looking towards tribe. And though it sounds like we're just going back to local, I don't necessarily mean that. I mean the people that we know, like, and trust. That by liking and trusting is starting to not be the ultimate factor so much as knowing. And so what I'm calling for with community marketing, and you can see the correlation to, the leadership model and the connection model, is like, do we actually know or want to know these people? Like, I met some crypto people in NFT NYC, and I met them in real life. And I thought, I really want to get to know this person. And I made sure I followed up with them. So I'm building that. They're not just an Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn influencer about crypto, which they were. I saw them in those spaces. And then when I met them in real life, I was like, dang. But I had a chance to know them.
Yeah.
and making those opportunities for people. And I think that's what we're doing with this show. You know, the people that pop in. I mean, one of these people who has been chatting, these chats we've brought up, they're also texting me. And I'm not going to show their text because it's a business situation that we're talking about, but they're real time while we're talking.
Yeah.
Texting me, and this was the moment to remind them of, oh, that's right, we were having this conversation,
Yeah.
and I know, like, and trust these people. Let me pick up that conversation. And that's what, in principle, that's kind of what I'm getting at with community marketing. So my question, though, is what are some of the tools? Like, now that I've said this, well, first off, what are the questions or concerns or mismatches or reflections you have from any of that? Any of that?
I mean, so much. Just how do you find your tribe? How do
you find
you know,
tribe?
that's one I struggled with for a long time. I feel like I have several tribes.
Yeah.
And the one that's been with me the longest is my best friend from back home. We've been friends for over 20 years. We were roommates in college. And she lives in Virginia and I live in Florida. And so it was really hard for me the longest time because I'm like, I need to be with my tribe.
Yeah.
And over the years, it's been hard. How do you connect with your tribe when they're not in your general vicinity? And so we always plan trips together multiple times a year. It's always a good excuse. I'm like, I have to go to Virginia. I haven't seen my friends. I have to do that.
Yeah.
But also just, making sure we make time to like talk on a regular basis. My best friend Sarah and I both have kids. We have crazy days. She's a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
I am kind of stay-at-home mom, but I also work full time. So
Sure.
We talk first thing in the morning, like 6:30 a.m. That's our time to like connect because it's like our free time, like before our kids are like awake and we have things to do. But I feel like it took me a long time to figure out like, how do I find my tribe? And I don't even think I realized that I had tribes until the last few years. I'm like, I do have tribes. They're just far away, So.
But you can still, as you're discovering, build that tribe.
Yeah.
Even
from far away, even from
far away.
1,000 miles, like we still make it work. And she's the person I am the most connected to, and I see the least. So I think if somebody's in your tribe, you make time to connect with them, even if that's virtual. There's just so many tools out there, and that's why tribes obviously is a little older because they're talking. There's no Instagram or Facebook or anything mentioned in the book, but yeah, I think there's a lot of tools out there for sure, especially in the age of technology that we're in. So,
Jessica, how do you build tribe?
Okay, so usually I would build a tribe by just like proximity. Like if I would start a new job, then it was like, okay, let me find someone that I vibe with. I would just kind of sit back and like watch for a while, like a creeper. But when I was in Colorado, I tried something new. I was just desperate to make friends for my children.
Yeah.
When we moved out there, just not knowing anyone, and I put them first, and I would never get on a Facebook group ever. Like that was not, I don't know why, like, but I was just like, no, like this isn't, I would never do it. But I did. I got in a couple of Facebook groups, homeschool groups, and I was just kind of like announcing I was there with, like, I was like, hey, everybody, I'm from Florida and I'm looking for, homeschool group. And I was really nervous just throwing myself out there like that. But it was like, it was worth the risk, right? I was like, if I can find one friend, like it's worth it. And just by throwing myself out there and just trying to find a community, I found a homeschool group. Through that, I found a church, and I have a handful of people that I can still keep in contact with when, our kids are playing Minecraft together or calling each other on the phone. So I'm really glad that I did that because it made me confident. Like I can do that again, right? Like you do it once, you can do it again. And it was wonderful.
So like the learnings, you just put, the learnings aren't necessarily Facebook groups, but maybe, but putting yourself out there.
Yeah. Just like looking for, like you're saying, like it's hard to find your tribe. So then you do some research and you try to figure out, like, okay, well, what kind of tribe do I want to be in? where are these people? Are there any groups already? And then you just have to kind of try them out and
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
if it vibes. And then, if it doesn't, you just look for the next one and look for the
If,
next one. And I
you
always
know,
look for the opportunity. Like, even if I go somewhere and I'm like, I don't want to be here long, but hey, I met that one person or I heard that one thing. And like,
Yeah.
that's the meaning and why I went there. Or I
Yeah.
found a new bookstore on the way, or, like something like that.
So, you had some mama bear energy there though.
Yeah.
If your kids didn't need friends, would you have made that same push?
Yes, I think I would have eventually got there because I needed friends too.
Yeah.
And Antonio just kept saying, like, Mom, you need to make some friends. Or like if I would meet someone, he's like, do they have kids? Like but yeah, like I needed friends too. I recognized that right away because I was almost like relying on my friends in Florida to be available for me, like whenever, like I miss you,
Sure.
let's talk. And they're just like, life is still going, or you
Yeah.
start to, since you're like no longer living, or I wasn't like living close by, like we were starting to run out of things to talk about,
Yeah.
it's like I'm no longer in the mix, I'm over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Why do
think
you
I would
think
have.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people are alone and a lot of people use this vernacular. I'm looking for my tribe. People say that a lot. They don't say, I'm looking for my local group of friends. They literally say something deeper and more
You're right.
intrinsic.
Yeah.
But why don't more people go out of their way like you're saying you did? What are the fears or hesitancies or resistances to seeking tribe, proactively going out of your way and putting yourself out there?
I think people are just like scared of being shut down or, like it's a lot to put yourself out there and to be vulnerable. So I think that that's not always an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think that people just get in their own heads really
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
Fear of the unknown, right? Like you don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen. You don't know what to expect.
Amber, when was the last time you went out of your way to proactively engage with a new tribe or a new friend group? Honestly.
It's been a while. I'm old and crotchety now. I'm just like, I'm too old. I can't meet new tribes.
But if there was another Nicole Bradham who was like, let's go hang.
Okay, so then, yeah, maybe Nicole, because I think something clicked for me when we brought on Nicole. I think we just connected instantly. And I don't normally send just random emails to our clients just to say hi, but with Nicole, I just felt comfortable doing that from our conversation. So I found myself just reaching out to her. And now that's just a thing that we do. We'll just, I think I said that this morning, like she'll send a request in like for an edit on her website, but then she'll also invite me to go to this junior league event or something.
Sure.
So, maybe Nicole, I did go out of my way to try to like form a relationship there just because I felt like I just really connected with her.
And I think tying this conversation back to leadership. And what we said about the new model of leadership is the role of leader shifts. And I think being a connector who initiates an opportunity for someone else, because if Jessica in Colorado or you as a work from home mother who says quite often, I just got to get out of the house, like let's go to Catapult because I feel like I get dressed up and I feel like a human and an adult. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's what we do. If we're feeling that, every single client. And what's weird is we do encounter humans all day long, but there's some connection level that's not occurring.
Yeah.
That we put on the leadership hat, we fall into that role, and we reach out and say, why don't you come to lunch with me? And I've said before to either of you girls, if either of you said, Grant, I'm going to take this client to coffee, to lunch, like take the corporate credit card, or I'll call ahead and put a credit over there and make that happen. It's such a small act.
Yeah.
But I think that who knows how fulfilling that would be for us too, not just as a marketing ploy, but, and I think we have to bridge that gap. What's your thought?
Well, it's like having a genuine connection. Like Nicole doesn't invite me to events just to be nice or to, whatever. It's a genuine connection, and
Yeah.
that's that's the important stuff, you know?
It is, and I think this nuance has to be captured as we, as we go into Q3 and make this transition as a training community. It can't be a marketing ploy. If we think, oh, okay, I've got to get my one KPI in to go to coffee with this person this week, it becomes so transactional.
Yeah.
But like, no, dude, this one client does this one thing, and actually, I'm just curious about it.
Yeah.
Take them to coffee, take them to lunch.
Yeah.
Let's make that happen. Or let's put two people like Ryan, Kristen, Julie Murata together, and that's still its own form of authenticity where, no, not as a marketing ploy. Like, we need y'all to make magic.
Yeah.
You
Just know you could do great things together.
Exactly. And we both like you guys. You guys do business, and just prompt them with questions, pepper them. Let's have lunch together and then look for that. So that's huge. All right. Any parting thoughts as we wrap up this edition of Spark Office Hours?
I like our tribe.
Which part?
Our tribe is good.
This little microcosm?
Yes.
Jessica,
It's just a
thoughts?
nice space.
Microcosm. I like that.
Yeah.
Parting
Parting thoughts?
Parting thoughts.
And then I'm gonna do a round robin of shout outs because I love shouting out people.
Ooh.
So just so everyone knows. But Jessica, you don't have to do that yet. Yeah. Parting thoughts.
Yeah, I'm just excited to read the rest of Tribes.
Yeah.
Period. I'm
Period.
really enjoying it, and I feel like it's the perfect time for us to read this as we work on building our community. I just think it was a perfect choice.
I agree with that. Okay, quick shout outs and I'll start. Shout out to Tristan for hopping in the comments. The comments keep us thriving and alive. Shout out to Ryan Edrington for asking a question that we didn't know the answer to, because we're smarty pants, but not that smarty pants. So thank you so much, Ryan, for bopping by and asking a question. We'll definitely get an answer. And shout out to you girls for making this happen. This would not have happened if these girls didn't make this happen. And B, playing along and really engaging in this community conversation with me. I think it's partly our unifying cause.
Yeah.
So that's my shout out. What do you got, Amber?
Yes to all of that. I want to shout out Rico Mathis. Because we've been working on his site the last few weeks. He was having some issues with his products. He really went through and just wiped out all the stuff he didn't need and eliminated all these products himself. And I'm just proud of him for just working on his website and just always trying to do better.
Being collaborative with us in a big, big way.
Yeah, he's just great. And I love working with him. I love getting a phone call from him and seeing his name pop up, because he's always like, Amber, when I answer the phone. And I love that. It's like talking to Grant. It's just, there's high energy as soon as you talk to him.
And let's give him a true shout out. Check out his website, Forever C10. Yeah. For those who know about the C10 vehicle car thing, he has a tribe of crazies who love this vehicle, and his website.
I feel oddly connected to it because of my dad, and my dad used to drive an S10, and we used to make fun of him because he would notoriously, this thing would always break, and he's like, no, we're not getting a new truck.
Yeah,
and they don't even make S10s anymore. I think the C10 replaced that, I'm pretty sure.
That's huge.
I think their tribe might have to correct me there, but
they probably would, being a tribe. Jessica, shout outs to any human being on the planet.
Oh, anyone on the planet? Okay.
Yeah, any human being.
I was really trying for a client there.
No, it doesn't have to be a client.
I'll just shout out my husband, Miguel Ojeda. He's constantly holding me accountable and pushing me to reach my goals.
Which in a marriage we know can be annoying, but also
yeah,
good for
he's
us.
like, did you read today? And I'm just like, I did so many things today, but yes, I'll read. You know what I mean?
So shout out to Miguel Ojeda. Okay, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. This has been the Spark Team Office Hours. We make ourselves available once every other week to answer your questions. But if you don't have questions, you lazy bums, A, are you even growing? But B, we can definitely, obviously, entertain ourselves, hopefully for your entertainment. Check us out at sparkmysite.com. Soon, check us out at stateofthespark.com. Thank you so much, everyone.